Everybody gotta die sometime. Hope your funeral never get shot up. Bullets tear through the innocent, nothing is fair. Niggas roll up, shooting for funeral.
We are learning more about the shooting yesterday outside a funeral home in Brighton Heights. We told you that a gunman opened fire while a service was going on inside. The victims are expected to recover.
19-year-old Sean Davis and 16-year-old Hezekiah Nixon, seen here exclusively as they were being taken Friday for questioning, are facing a number of charges, including attempted homicide. They're accused of wreaking havoc outside a funeral being held at Destiny of Faith Church around midday Friday. Court documents describe the moments after shots were fired as, quote, chaotic, with many people screaming and frantically exiting the church. According to the criminal complaint, surveillance video from a nearby business led police to this car, later recovered during a traffic stop on the McKees Rocks Bridge. That's where the teens were arrested. This is our first look at the mugshots for both. Documents show Nixon was still wearing the clothes shown in surveillance video when taken into custody. Davis had changed but was still wearing a pair of underwear with a distinct logo that detectives, quote, could clearly see. That logo had also been visible in the video.
One of the shooters had their pants sagging so low that you could see the fucking logo in their underwear and shit. Your underwear matches the fucking underwear of one of the shooters. Why are you showing your underwear? You're showing your ass off. These cats are crazy. No target, just shooting. They don't even care who gets hit. Like, nobody died, that's good. But how you shoot so many rounds, you hit 6 people and a horse. You're gonna see later on, they say they hit the horse that was supposed to carry the casket. All because of some turf wars out in PA, which as if Philadelphia don't already got issues. Now you got this shit going on over out by Pittsburgh. They're shooting up your funeral shit. What the fuck are you doing, man?
Now at 5, a Target 11 exclusive. One of the teens accused of opening fire outside of a church on Friday at a funeral tried to shoot a downtown store clerk 2 years ago, but the gun jammed. And that incident, like the funeral shooting, was also caught on surveillance video. Tonight, Sean Davis and Hezekiah Nixon remain behind bars in connection with Friday's shooting. Channel 11 News got exclusive video of the teens being walked into police headquarters for questioning just hours after the gunfire.
Target 11's Rick Earl broke the story yesterday about Sean Davis's lengthy criminal past, including his alleged involvement in the Ross Park Mall shooting last year. And Rick joins us live now with the exclusive video from this downtown incident and new information about his sentence in that case. Rick.
Yeah, Lisa and David, prosecutors wanted 3 to 6 years in prison, but the judge released Sean Davis after serving only 9 months. If he had received that stiffer sentence, he would not have been on the streets and outside that funeral last week, allegedly opening fire. Sean Davis, seen in this surveillance video from 2020, fighting with a clerk at a downtown electronics store. The clerk tackles Davis to the ground, but then lets him up. On his way out the door, Davis turns, pulls a gun, and tries to fire. But the gun, according to the clerk, jams. Davis then takes off. He's arrested and charged with aggravated assault and prohibited possession of a firearm. 1 year later, while out on bond, Davis is arrested again and accused of firing shots inside Ross Park Mall. No one is hit. The case is ultimately dismissed after sources say a judge raised identification issues. Davis' bond is revoked, though, and in April of this year, he pleads guilty to aggravated assault in that downtown store altercation. According to an email obtained by Target 11, prosecutors recommended 3 to 6 years in a state prison based on Davis' criminal history. Sources tell Target 11 Davis has 2 previous gun possession charges as a juvenile. It's unclear what happened in those cases because juvenile records are sealed. But Judge Tom Flaherty releases him from the Allegheny County Jail after serving 9 months of a 10 to 23-month sentence for that aggravated assault. He was placed on 6 months of electronic monitoring on June 28th. So on the day of the funeral shooting, he should have still been wearing an ankle bracelet. Now, I asked the court administrator if Davis was wearing that ankle bracelet at the time of the shooting on Friday or if he cut it off. They declined to answer that question. I also questioned Judge Flaherty about the sentence. He said he could not discuss it. I talked with the victim in that aggravated assault case as well. He declined an interview but expressed disappointment in both the sentence and the nearly 2 years it took to resolve that case.
So if you're paying attention, you can see there's another issue here with this story that constantly comes up. People ignore it. And it's this whole prison reform movement. It's like these people think they know better, right? That's why it's called woke, because they think that they have some new idea that's going to help benefit people. And it's like, you're wrong. And along with this prison reform movement, you started hearing abolish the police. Then they brought it down to defund the police. And this is part of the reason why you see this spike in crime throughout the entire country. Crime has been spiking even before COVID. There's a saying, when the times get tough, the tough get tougher. You're not supposed to get softer when you see crime spike. You're supposed to get tougher and scare these criminals away. You're not supposed to be all soft on crime, which is, not to make this political, but that's how the left is. They soft on crime.
At the funeral for John Hornizas when gunfire erupted again in Brighton Heights. KDKA has now obtained the surveillance video that shows the chaos outside Destiny of Faith Church. 6 people were wounded in that crime.
In this video, you can clearly see the terrifying moments after gunfire erupted outside Destiny of Faith Church during the funeral for John Hornizas, who was recently killed in a gun battle on the north side. 2 suspects dressed in black wearing masks started shooting at the lawn on the north side of the church at Benton Avenue towards people at the front doors and in the vestibule of the church. One of the suspects ran towards the church entrance and continued shooting towards the victims. Then people start running. A bullet fragment hit one of the horses that brought the casket. Then a woman who was shot struggles to make her way into the church. KDKA has learned a bullet hit her in the leg, foot, and hand. A man who knows her tells me the family is too afraid to talk, fearing retaliation, saying she didn't see anything or hear anything. Another victim, a 24-year-old man shot in the foot, tells me he ran and kept running until he was safe. Right now, he's at home recovering. He tells me it's hard living in the streets and surviving. A 20-year-old, also afraid, thanked me for checking in, telling me there's a lot of fear.
Nobody likes to live in fear. That's the community that we're in. Sometimes it's just life. It's just life.
Jason Westmoreland works at Pittsburgh Fish and Chicken on Benton Avenue across from the church and heard dozens of shots.
Outrageous. It was sad. I feel bad for the family. But it's just heartbreaking.
Hours after the shooting, police arrested and charged Sean Davis and Hezekiah Nixon. Through cameras, detectives identified the suspect vehicle and found them on the McKees Rocks Bridge. They are both known to law enforcement and have prior criminal records. Police believe they targeted the funeral over an ongoing turf battle connected to the earlier shooting on Cedar Avenue that killed Hernandez.
You live what you live, you learn what you learn, and sometimes ain't no going back.
Still, Jason Westmoreland says something needs to change.
As people, as individuals, got to make better choices. And if we don't choose to do that, ain't nothing's going to happen. Just think before you react. Use your head. You got a brain.
Allegheny Middle School and Alderdice High School.
Police say 15 shots were fired outside the Destiny of Faith Church. 6 people were wounded.
Middle School and Alderdice High School.
People running for their lives, panicking. This video from inside a church in Brighton Heights. A funeral was being live streamed when a barrage of bullets was fired right outside.
I don't know who did this, but whoever did this, let me tell you something. God gonna have his way with you, because there was no reason for this to happen today.
The shooting prompted a massive police response. Officers from all over raced to the Destiny of Faith Church on Brighton Avenue. This, of course, just the latest in a string of violent incidents in the city.
It just reminded me of that line that Nas says in the song One Mic. Everybody gotta die sometimes. Hope your funeral never gets shot up. Bullets tear through the innocent, nothing is fair. Roll up, shooting from wheelchairs, tasting revenge in the air. This is drama. Where does it stop? Right? That's what he said. Where does it stop? You retaliate and then you retaliate. When is it gonna end? This is petty, dumb shit, man, that happens way too often. And if these groups like BLM, who got over $90 million in donations last year, if they could send off some groups to go and march and protest and, in peace and solidarity, and because this is ongoing still. So What are they doing? Your motto is Black Lives Matter. Well, one of the major things affecting black people is homicide. This is a bigger problem than some white girl saying something racist in the university. You know, like, why is that the focus?
Christine, youth gun violence, kids with guns and ready to use them. It's become an epidemic in Pittsburgh and the region. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. Many times it involves rival groups, not organized gangs, but rival groups organized around turf or drugs. They get into these disputes. There's a shooting incident, there's retaliation, and there's retaliation against that. This started 2 weeks ago with a shooting on the north side outside of Sunoco Station, in which this young man and two women victims, innocent bystanders, were killed. There appears to be a retaliatory action last night in the Spring Hill neighborhood, and now this shooting today outside of this young man's funeral.
So BLM won't touch this. Tamika Mallory, Shaun King, they don't want to focus too much on this because there's no racial sexiness to it, that racial dynamic, that white on black. That's what they want to attack. It seems hypocritical that a group that focuses on black lives supposedly is not paying attention to a bigger issue, because what they're going to say is, oh, well, what are you saying, that cops are not an issue, or white racism, white supremacy is not an issue? All those things are issues, and I don't overestimate it or exaggerate it as a lot of people are doing out here for whatever reason. This is like a clickbait thing now. But when situations like this happen, it's like nobody cares. It's been accepted as life. Like you saw one of the people that worked across the street from that church said, well, this is life. And it's like, no, it shouldn't be. This is not normal. And that's the problem, is that there's no outrage to things like this. I really think that a lot of this is due to fear of being called a racist, because there's a woke mob out here ready to attack anybody that has anything to say against any black person. It's like, this shit is real. I felt it myself. And I'm not going to be scared into keeping my mouth closed or not speaking up about something that I see is clearly important and that I'm worried about. This is an issue.
But these shootings tend to go on unabated. This is a danger not only to these kids, these people themselves, but to innocent bystanders. People that were mourning today at this funeral had nothing to do with this dispute between these neighborhood groups. Commander Richard Ford putting out a warning to the north side.